So I was wrong earlier. It's this song is actually done by Ducking Punches, and it's called 6 Years. And well, I'm just gonna go for it, I guess.
Go
I'm sorry for the weather. I'm sorry that our friend died. I'm sorry that we couldn't cry. We couldn't cry. I'm sorry for the mother. Sorry she didn't say goodbye. I'm sorry that she left you. It was the fear of love in her eyes. You make me nervous and I can't deal with it. You make me nervous when you've been drinking. You make me nervous and I can't deal with it. You make me nervous when you've been drinking. I'm sorry I couldn't fix you. I'm sorry that you broke down. My brother, I still miss you. Every goddamn day. Every day. Proud to say that I needed you. It's with regrets that's on the tip of my tongue. I guess it's true what they say. Only the good die young. Only the good die young. It's taken 6 years for me to write this, and I mean every word I fucking promise. Pour a drink out and raise up your glasses to the best dude that ever graced this planet. It's taken 6 years for me to write this, and I mean every word I fucking promise. Pour a drink out and raise up your glasses to the best dude that ever graced this planet.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen.
Hey.
I'm Lion, and we have a special guest host today.
How you going? I'm Crispy Wisp.
Thank you.
And today we have a special guest with us.
Hi. Nice to be here with you guys.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
My name is Onetwostep. But you can call me Twostep or 12, however you like.
Okay.
Just make sure you don't call me One Step, because that would be an insult.
Because it's 2 steps, not 1 step.
Right. Now there's a meaning behind my name, though. If you like, I can tell you real quick.
I would love to hear.
So many people think that my name comes from the Sierra song 1-2 Step, but it's a little bit older than that, because I'm a little bit older. And well, the thought behind that name is whenever there's a problem, you take one step back to be able to oversee the whole situation. And then in order to overcome that situation, you need two steps. So that's the 1-2 step. So whenever you call me one step, that's the step backwards, which would be not a good thing.
Ah, that makes a whole lot of
So
sense now.
you can call me 1-2 or 2-step, but whenever you call me one step, I know that you don't know me well.
Fair. Well, Twostep, what is it people know you for best, and how'd you get into the platform and into what you do?
I think people know me best for being a fucking idiot. But besides that, probably known for doing music quite a lot in here, which was the very reason why I joined VRChat. Back then, I was watching No Logic David and Mr. Wobbles, and they always came online and did music in the open mic world, which still is there. It got sadly ruined a little bit by an update back in, I don't know what, 2020 or something like that. But the hardcore musicians still go there doing some music every now and then. And I joined, I was like watching those streams and I was like, well, I'm doing music too since I'm 11 years old. And I do have quite some free time at the moment, so I could just go there and do some music as well and maybe get to know some people. So on my first day I went in there, I sat down on one of those round tables and I started to do music, and then some others came around and I got to talk with some of them. And that one girl was like, hey, you sound really cool. There's a show later on this night on Saturday. I'm gonna be offline right now, but you can friend me, and then when you see me online later, you can just join on me and we can go to the show together. And that show was led by Mad Mox, which was one of the staff members of Artifex. And I joined there and I asked if I could perform as well, even though I wasn't on the list. And they were like, yeah, well, we have that list going on right now. But after the list is gone, we normally let people join on there as well. And if you want, you can perform then. And that's what I did. And they invited me to Artifacts as well. And I got involved so much into it and literally fell in love with that whole group that I involved myself so much that after 2 months, people thought that I was staff member already. And then they convinced me to be staff member. And ever since then, I created like several shows for them and helped hosting shows and stuff like that. And sadly, we had to lay, after 5 years, we had to lay Artifacts to rest in January this year, because times are just different now. There's too many groups, the awareness is too spread. People go to one event and they perform there, and then they leave immediately to the next event instead of hanging out and chilling with each other. So that whole motion is a little bit different now, and it's kind of a little bit sad as a host, let's say it that way.
Okay. So how different are the times between when you started versus how they are now? Because you kind of mentioned that's what shut Artifacts down. Was that a big problem with Artifacts?
It's one of the reasons why we shut down. It was obviously not the whole reason for it. Like the whole group of Artifacts started as like a collection of people that were hanging out and doing music and everything. And they renamed themselves later on to Star Collective. And after a year or something, there was like a big breakup happening and everything, and they created themselves anew. And that's when they became Artifacts. But the whole legacy of Artifacts, basically including the prehistory of that, would be like 7 years. So they started in 2017 and we ended in 2024. And the whole difference between back then and today was the whole private world thingy was not as big. Basically, everybody was hanging out in public worlds, which made it way more easy to get to know new people and get a bigger pool of people that you want to hang out with. then like the whole after quite some time, there came like the whole crashing scene in there, like the client users and whatever not that went on to shows to literally just create chaos and destroy them and whatever not.
Mm.
And whereas we had like some problems because like we had also people that started streaming then and they became more known on the internet, and then people were stream sniping them and went to our events to crash those events and stuff like that. So we made those worlds private, and I think like the whole crashing scene was the reason why people moved away from public instances to private instances. And that's when the whole spiel began, with hosts loading up their friends list with absolute strangers just because they wanted to be on the show or wanted to come to the events as well. And thankfully nowadays we have like the whole group plus scene, so I could reduce my friend list from above 2,000 people, it felt like, to I don't know, 1,200 people now. And I mean, like, sure, some people take it like personal when you remove them from your friend list, and you just like sit there and like, we haven't talked for like a year, maybe even two, and you basically were only on my friend list because you wanted to be part of those shows. If you wanted to be my friend, you had like plenty of time. But oh well, it is what it is. Like at some point you have to understand you do this because you do your hobby and you want to have fun in this, and whatever or stress comes onto you, you have to decide if you want to face that stress or not.
Okay. So I kind of would like to ask you a question a bit further back before we start diving into VRChat some more. What started you playing music in the beginning? What led you to doing that as a hobby or career?
I guess that's going back into my very, very young age. I was born and nearly immediately died again because of the circumstances I was born into. I was like on the emergency thingy as a newborn for 6 weeks and everything. And because the medication that they gave me, I had an allergic reaction to that. I developed quite some allergics and everything, which led to my hands being like not okay. Like there were like things happening which led to like bleeding hands and whatever not. So I wouldn't have been able to do any like contact instrument or anything. However, my mom said I was standing with 2 years in the backyard in the garden and doing air guitar like I would have known what I'm doing. And she wouldn't know how I got there because I would have never seen something like that before. So she was absolutely sure that at some point in my life I'm going to play guitar anyways. But I couldn't until I turned 11 years old because of that disease. At 11, due to my mom educating herself into medicine and everything, because in the 90s, I'm a 90s kid. I was born 1991. Like the whole scene of medication and like allergies and stuff and like that just developed. Basically, there was not that much information out there, so we basically did everything by trial and error. However, she did such a good job at that I lost nearly everything by the age of 11, and that's when I got my first guitar on that birthday. Never got lessons. I taught myself by playing together with some friends in like a Christian group environment with Christian songs and Christian rock songs and stuff like that. And I played alongside to Red Hot Chili Peppers on YouTube, because I'm the first generation that kind of grew up with the internet, even though your mom came into your room every now and then and told you to get the fuck out of the game because she needed to make a call, and you weren't able to be on the internet at the same time as she would take a call on the landline. Yeah. So
Get off RuneScape.
that was the
I'm
fun.
trying to
And
talk to
well,
my
I played
boyfriend.
Yeah. Yo, pause the game for a minute, but mom, this is an online game. You can't pause online games. Well, however, I played guitar and I never stopped playing guitar. And by now, I'm turning 33 in September this year. And it's been 22 years then. And by now it really feels awkward if I'm not able to play within a week or anything. So I basically, even if I go on vacation, I'll make sure that either there is a guitar or I can take my guitar with me. And if I'm not, I'm getting depressed after 2 weeks.
Oh wow. So
It's like literally my comfort instrument, and I need to play it in order to feel like myself, I guess.
wow.
Oh.
That's quite the story you have there. Did you ever? What kinds of things have you done with this with music since that's became your comfort?
I've been playing in a Christian rock band when I was 16 years old. However, I got thrown out there because my girlfriend at that time wasn't believing in God, and they were like, "We can't have somebody in our band when his girlfriend is not believing." And it was so idiotic that like the whole group split half into one camp was like going with them, and the other camp was like, "That's so stupid, it has nothing to do with Christianity, that we don't want to have anything to do with you guys." So that was a big thing, and sadly that was the only time that I ever was in a band. However, well, I did like play for myself and for friends and stuff like that. I played on a wedding for my sister. I started playing online music, and there was like so many events by now that I can't even tell how many events I've been performing on, but it's always fun. And I'm always happy if somebody asks, "Hey, do you want to be around?" However, I also create those events. For example, I did that a lot of times for artifex. And with artifex, we've been working with bigger groups as well together. So I was creating like beginning shows basically with like musicians and everything for multiple different events. And that's how we got together with pjkt back then, before they were pjkt. And when the whole split up with them happened, I was mostly befriended with the ones that basically split up, and I still work with pjkt. And I joined pjkt, was the representative for artifex, and when artifex was given up basically for multiple reasons, well, I basically asked them if I cannot just do what I did at theirs, and they were like, "Yeah, hell yeah, that's no problem. You can stay with us." So I'm basically the music event coordinator, but I'm also working at the media team. I'm creating like event posters and emojis and stuff like that. So that's one thing about me. I'm like multi-interested and multiple. I'm like multi-creative. So it's always kind of a hustle, because sometimes I'm focusing way too much on that. Then I burn out of music, and I don't do much music other than playing around a little bit. And I focus on drawing until I burn out of that, and then I go back to music again. So it's a back and forth all the time. And since I'm working with pjkt, there's like I can focus on both quite well. So I'm not burning out of that no more, and that feels really good, to be honest.
I'm glad. Now I'm going to dig into your history with artifex a little bit, and when you would play shows in VRChat in the beginning. Tell us about some of your first shows, like the one you mentioned before, the friends you made pulled you to.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? What was your first shows like?
Right. So the first show was called Ubervision, and it was a show that was originally done, I think, by Etsy Slayer. and he did that together with Mad Mox as the show host, and it was like a stage show. So it was like a big stage, and then there was like ranks sitting in front of that, and the room was filled. Like there was like a lot of people that went there not just to perform, but there was also a lot of supportive people that just wanted to listen and watch this. And that happened like every weekend, and it just felt like a huge big family, kind of like a music family. You got to know people, you got to hang out with them after the event. The only thing that I never liked about that show was everybody needed to shut the fuck up. Like when somebody was performing, everybody needed to shut the fuck up. So it's kind of like, yeah, you go there and yeah, you want to listen to that, but you kind of also want to socialize while you listen that, and that was not working at that time because the whole audio boosting thingy wasn't a thing yet.
Mm.
But this whole stage situation, I grew into that, and Etsy at some point started streaming, so he stepped back from artifex for a while, and that's when Mad Mox was there, and I helped him hosting that, and he basically trained me into doing that by just doing it and having fun. And the amount of people that we met outside the show on like just hanging out in public worlds and doing music there, we always told them, hey, you're really cool, do you want to come to this event? And that's how we got more and more people in. And there were also a lot of people that were like super good at music but super shy and had stage fright, and we even got them to play on the stage and losing their stage fright even, which was such a wholesome thing to like. I still remember that really nicely. I really like those memories and all the influences. And there's still people that come to me every now and then. They are like, hey, I'm so thankful that you got me into this. Without you, I would have never made as much music as I did. And I feel the very same. Like without getting into the whole scene, I probably wouldn't have done as much music as I do nowadays.
Oh wow. So
There was another show. There was another show then, because like this whole show was basically something that Etsy came up with, and Matt Mox wanted to do his own show, kind of a little bit different, where it's more like a gig situation where he asked like people to perform on a Saturday, where they get, instead of one song, they get like 3 songs or something. Like basically everybody gets 20 minutes. And that's how actually the whole like the whole scene of making small concerts and stuff like that kind of roots back to those kind of shows where like instead of just singing one song and then the next one comes, like an open mic situation, it got to the gig show kind of deal. And we both were hosting that together. He created with a friend he basically shot pictures of a club that he really liked in California, and that club got recreated in VRChat, and he was even able to show the people from the original club that kind of world, and they were like, hey, that's fucking awesome, and all of that jazz. And it was really fun. And then like from everywhere, like there were more and more people coming with their own shows basically, but that's like the 2 main shows that I was part of
oh wow.
at
So
that time.
I have a question, Line.
Sure.
Sorry, what was your most fondest memory or best event that you've ever performed in? What makes it the most fondest memory of yours?
I think I can't answer this question satisfyingly because like every show has the plus and minus. I think the best show, I haven't even performed on that because I was in hospital, but I helped building that kind of stuff, helped out of being having that event, and it was like a redwood forest jam. hard word for me. Never mind. It was a collaboration with like two groups, and it was like a whole situation like in the woods, like redwood forest woods, and then like a big stage. And that stage, for its time, it was like one of the best stages because it had like the amplifier and everything, and you could hear it over the world sound without VRChat VRSDN, VRCSDN. I always forget about that. It just worked really well, and everybody had such a blast. I really loved that, but one of the best shows. I feel like one of the best shows that I liked the most would have been Campfire Jam in general. Not like a singular show, but it happened for 5 years every single Friday. It was hosted by Camp Leroy. And it literally felt like a family meeting because everybody always came together, we're hanging out, and then it started, and everybody was going in circles. Like, it was like a queue, and it was written down who is on the queue. And if you didn't say, "Hey, I want to be removed," then at the end of the queue, we just started again. And so that whole show normally went between, at minimum, 3 hours to, I think the maximum that I personally held at one time was 12 hours because I started in European times, and then after a while the American time zone dropped in, and like it was like self-running constantly. So like that whole show felt like I'm missing it, to be honest. It's no longer a thing, but yeah. A lot of things changed after COVID is no longer, because like through COVID, a lot of more people came in, and a lot more people that already were there had way more time. And after COVID, lifted the thing of, hey, you can't do shit no more. People really were sick of just staying at home, which I can understand, but it's really sad for the events. So there was like a whole movement of people that just didn't come back no more.
So from the sounds of everything, it sounds like you and Artifex got to watch the VRChat music scene develop over time, through the beginning, through COVID, through EAC, and through every event. What has that been like for you and Artifex, may I ask?
I would actually even go so far that we didn't just witness, we basically shaped the music community.
Oh.
Like, at some point, everybody knew what Artifex is. Even if they weren't part of it, they at least have heard of the group. And like, basically every musician that was known, or at least minimal known in the communities, they at some point had like a collision point with artifacts somewhere in their past. So it felt really good. Let's say it that way. It felt really good to create something and be part of something that shaped quite a lot of people and helped quite a lot of people, as well as it helped me. And all the people that were stuffing there did that as a hobby. We never got paid, and we did that for multiple years, very consistently. And it was really fulfilling to see that this is still going on. So whenever those moments came where everybody on Twitter and on the internet were like, "Oh, VRChat is dying. Nobody wants to go to VRChat no more." Honestly, we just never listened to that. We never wanted to listen to that, and also the numbers never gave that. Like, there was more and more people coming to VRChat, whereas like obviously there were people moving away from it as well through some development issues, I guess, or some development decisions from VRChat. For example, getting rid of those clients to prevent hackers is a good idea, but they should have worked with everybody that did like clients for minorities, for example, those quality of life clients that basically are there now with like the chat boxes and stuff like that for mutes and the EMF mode, so you don't get the sensory overload, color blindness things and everything. That came over the past year, maybe 2 years, but they literally made a hard cut and everything was lost. So mutes couldn't be in VRChat no more because there was no point, and all the other minorities couldn't be there either. And I'm glad that we are at the point where we are now. I kind of like how everything got developed so far now, but there's always room for improvement. However, that had always like a big impact on who is there, who's hanging out with everyone and stuff like that. But the emotion of VR chat is dying, that's always super subjective. I feel like the people that do shows nowadays do it very differently than we did it back then. What they do now is they put up a show and hope that people like it so much that they tell everybody else about it and then get people in. Whereas the people that were around with us and doing shows now, they still do the extra mile of when they don't have their show, they still come online, they hang out in public worlds, they hang out in music worlds, they go to other music events and make themselves known and seen, and from there they getting people to come to their events. And that's most of the time the shows that last, and that's the shows that actually do good.
So do you think that the newer style can go back to its roots, or do you think there is some reasons why people do that? Why was the change between how you and Artifex did them, as you mentioned, versus now how they are?
I think everything is just faster nowadays. Like the whole attention thing is probably having a lot of impact on it. Like everybody wants to do something, but they don't have as much time as they had in COVID time, obviously, no more. So everything needs to be like they want to have the maximum out of that time. Basically, they're mid-maxing. So instead of hanging out with a group that they like and everything, they want to please each and every group or please them with being at each and every group at the same time. So back then you just decided, hey, today I'm gonna go there and hang out with them, and if that's getting boring, okay, I can move to something else. Whereas now it's like, hey, I want to be there, oh, I also want to be there, I also want to be there. And because there's so much variety, that's kind of I guess that's one of the biggest problems, because there's so much variety, and instead of those hosts and shows working together with each other, because that was a big thing with artifacts. I guess at the beginning we swallowed quite a lot of small communities and made them part of artifacts. So that wasn't too much of a problem, because we still all wanted to do kind of the same thing. And at some time, basically at the time where I joined in, we didn't do that no more. We were big enough, we had quite a lot of audience, and we didn't want to hurt anybody that wanted to do their own stuff, let alone there were people that didn't like how we did it, so they wanted to do their own stuff. However, whenever we met somebody that really liked what we did, and we liked or could see, hey, they're doing it really well, or they could benefit from some input from us, we did start a partner program. And whenever that happened, we checked on the weekly schedule, basically, hey, when is this event happening, when do you want to hold your events, let's see that they don't collide at the same time, so we still have like the people going to that event and you get the maximum of your event, because we're sending our people over to your event as well. That's basically how it really helped. But nowadays there's just so much and nobody cares about what other events is there, that everything is happening at the same time and basically on the weekend, and most of the time at American time zones.
So do you ever miss the time you spent with artifacts and that kind of atmosphere, how things used to be?
Well, yeah, obviously, I miss the nice and good times of artifacts. Obviously, I know that not everything has been nice and good all the time. I obviously don't miss those times. Um, I miss the opportunity and the possibility of just hanging out with everybody that I met back then and that I still have fond in my heart. I have I actually wear a lot of those people that I have fond in my heart. I made tattoos out of them, which you can see here. So
Oh
that's
wow.
basically all. Like that's
Oh.
friends of mine that I hold dear to my heart, or like events that I hold dear to my heart. For example, here the campfire jam, the artifacts logo, and stuff like that. And all the other people, they got so close to me that I would call them close to family even at this point. So whenever they want to hang out, I make sure that's possible and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, sure, I miss times from artifacts times, but I'm really happy of how things work out with pjkt, and there's a lot of similarities as well as differences.
Hmm.
Which I appreciate just as much. So I know that everything never stays the same, and it's always like a progress, and things change. And it's good that way, so you can remember things with a nostalgic view, even though there obviously were moments where you were like, ah, do I really want to do this anymore?
Fair. Well, now that you're mentioning pjkt, how did you get involved with pjkt, and what did you start doing in the beginning with them?
I guess I got involved with them because we were already working together with their group when they still were VRCon.
Mm.
So when VRCon was basically the pre-existing formula of everything, with the booths and the showcasing of communities. There were a lot of problems happening behind the scenes. And basically, when there was the split happening between them and pjkt, I identified a lot with the people that turned into pjkt. And VRCon didn't happen over the time at all, no more. And I don't know if they happen again or not. I didn't keep track of that, to be honest, and I also didn't want to look into the drama that happened there too much. But like all the people that went into pjkt, they were very similar to how I felt. I always did what I did out of a hobby, but I wanted to make it as good as possible so other people, when they come to the event, get to enjoy themselves, don't have to face drama or don't have to face any stress and stuff like that. And everybody that I know in pjkt is basically the same. They put their absolute heart into everything that they touch, and everybody is so much involved and wants to make everything good that it just feels like everybody's pulling the next with them, with the energy that is going on. Everybody wants something to be good. And this whole feeling is just, I don't want to miss that no more. At the end of Artifacts, it felt a little bit lonely. Like a lot of staff moved on. There was not really anything happening no more, other than like maybe 2 shows, which one of them was basically already happening with pjkt. So my logic thought was like, well, if Artifacts is not working no more, and we were talking about laying it down for basically a year, and we didn't do it out of nostalgic reasons, which was not that smart, because people burned themselves out even more because of that. Like basically I was working with them already on what I was working in Artifacts, so the logic step was just going to pjkt at that time. And thankfully they like Artifacts and my work and the work of Artifacts so much already anyways, that everybody in those positions knew me already and were like, yeah, hell yeah, we want to work with you. You're a fucking idiot, but you're funny.
Give yourself more credit. That you're a lot smarter than you give yourself credit for, just from hearing you speak. So be a little nicer to yourself.
Well, if you say so.
So
I have a question,
Oh,
Line.
yeah,
Sorry.
Sophie.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the past leading up to where you are now. What kind of vision do you have for the future with the performance industry with music in VR? And what changes and improvements would you like to see? What direction would you like to go?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Well, I think like the overall, I would like to see that people just never lose their interest in coming in here and doing something. Like the whole motion of everybody takes their own show and doesn't care about the other show. I wish that would work back to a point where they get more aware that they are not the only one that does those kind of things, and maybe start working more together, so the overall motion is more like hanging out and doing things together more than, hey, I'm that person that creates that show, recognize me for what I'm doing here. Because honestly, that's not what we're doing here in VRChat. Everybody is just expressing themselves and everybody wants to do their own stuff anyways. So those shows are basically just highlights of what is going on outside these shows anyways. So whenever you want to create a show, don't make it just about you. And I hope that this is going like in future it goes more to that point again. However, let's be realistic. There's so many people that want to be recognized at this time because they don't get the recognition somewhere else, that I don't see much of that development at the moment still. However, those big shows, like the development of that big shows and all those worlds that come with that, it's getting crazier and crazier with the technology there is. Like even with pjkt, the technology that we're using for streaming those events, I mean, we've won a flipping People's Choice Telly Award last year for that kind of stuff, and it's the development of that technology is just enhancing those shows to be more and more seen outside of VRChat, which has the possibility of getting more people, more awareness, and with awareness, maybe even more money into the system, which ultimately will be used to create even better shows. But I mean, with that, you need to decide what your product that you create is worth. If you're just one that is like, hey, I want to have the fast money, therefore I create something and grab all the money I can get with, I don't know, Raid Shadow Legends or whatever. No, I'm not sponsored and I never want to be. Thank you. I don't say that you can't do that, but it's not beneficial for your own product. And what I also see in the past outside of VRChat is there's a lot of people that had a vision, that created something, and at some point they disconnected themselves so much that they only cared about the money, so they sold their product to somebody, which ruined it. Like, look at Spotify. How great was that at the start? Now, if you don't have premium account, they put like advertisement after every single song, and then they tell you every 5 minutes, after this advertisement, you're free for 30 minutes, but you're not because you're getting it 5 minutes later again. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is unusable. And the only reason why people use it is because there's no competition about that. So competition is good as well in VRChat as outside. And if there's shows happening at the same time, that will be always happening. But if people develop more into a direction of, hey, we want to all have fun together again, I really much would appreciate that.
Yeah, I can very much understand that sentiment. What kinds of things do you think would have to change to bring that kind of sentiment back to VRChat?
I guess people need to be a little bit more selfless again. It's not always about each and every individual. It's more about how you have your environment set up, how you care about the people in your environment, and how you get to enjoy yourself with others, not just you enjoy yourself and everybody else has to see where they're going.
Okay. That makes a lot
It's
of
like
sense.
VRChat is a community itself. Sorry, VRChat is a community itself, and it's set down as a game on Steam. I get that, but it's so much not a game. It's more about learning social skills, and it starts at the squeaker that comes online and shouldn't be online and not being taken care of by their parents. And it goes up to people that never got any social education from their family surroundings, to a point that they harass people at mirrors or harass even worse in even worse forms, which I don't want to talk about right now because that's not the point at all. But those things happen, and I just be a little bit more aware of your surrounding and take a little bit more care of the people that surround you instead of just taking care of yourself, I guess.
I would very much love to see those things as well. It's those very sentiments that were the people I've met that kept me here all this time. And then it's those people are still there, whether you see them or not. Like, for example, pjkt. Everyone in pjkt is like that. Most of the communities that surround them as well are very identical. So I don't think it's. I'd say give it some time with the influence of the people who are growing today. I think it will come back.
I love the whole project, to be honest. Like, the whole idea of pjkt is not being alone there. You are seen if you work together with each another. And that's, for me, the biggest thing about pjkt is, hey, I have the possibility with pjkt Fest getting to know new communities. And it's kind of sad for me that the world basically is used for like this year 10 days, and afterwards people don't really go in there no more. So we try to involve the communities with community hangouts and everything in pjkt still, because this whole feeling that you get in pjkt of being part of like a bigger thing and having the possibility of reaching out to other communities that you might like and feel like, hey, I want to collab with them. I feel that like that was really much missing, and I love that. It's a real nice feeling to see like, hey, they are thriving and they want to hang out with each other. They get to know each other, and maybe they become a thing at some point, or they stay where they are, but they work with each other. The whole working with each other thing is absolutely beautiful to see.
You know, I have a question for you since you are the music events coordinator. Have you ever thought about using the old pjkt worlds and kind of bringing back what Artifex did, but doing music events in them? Since each pjkt world is a big stage, audio boosted, and it's all pretty much set up for those things to begin with.
Right, like a nostalgia trip. We've been doing that with artifacts, and obviously that's a thing that I'm gonna look for in the future. At the moment, I'm more concerned about who I'm gonna invite for concerts, because I obviously know quite a lot of people, and I can't make it for everyone. Plus, the situation that is going on with streams is always a hindrance, kind of, because we can only take people that are either just instrumental or doing instrumentals with vocals, because as soon as they use a backing track, that backing track falls under the DMCA, because Sony or any other publishers owning those rights, and unless you get like a license for using that, which not a lot of people do. Like DJs most of the time have their own licenses, but like just the regular musician on the internet just doesn't care about that kind of stuff at all. So for big events, I can only make use of people that make their own stuff, which sadly excludes like a whole lot of crazy good musicians. So maybe I'm gonna find a way to create certain events that are not streamed at all and VRChat exclusive.
Mm.
So we don't have to deal with all that stuff. For example, doing like karaoke nights and stuff like that. That could be a really good thing to do. And those kind of things are really good for bounding as well. So I'm gonna see how I can do that in future. However, I'm gonna also look into how I can activate the musicians in those other communities that are already part of PJKT, which I tried a little bit after PJKT Fest already in checking on if there's any interest in sending people from their communities to me where they know like, hey, this is a cool musician and he should work with you together and stuff like that. Gonna look into that for next year PJKT Fest. Yeah, we're gonna see where we're going with music in future.
Okay. So, how long have you been with PJKT? When did you kind of start working with a mask?
Well, I guess I started right at the beginning because, like I said, I already worked with that team basically when they weren't PJKT yet. So I basically was available and there from minute one. However, I got way more involved, like I guess half a year before, basically after last year's no, before last year's PJKT Fest, I got more and more involved with them.
Mm. Okay. So, I have
But
another.
like the directors of PJKT, at least some of them, they were already part for years and years in Artifex as members, and they knew about our shows and stuff like that. That's why I'm saying like VRChat basically is a whole group of something where every third person knows the next person.
Oh, wow. That's wild. You're like 3 degrees of separation from everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I have an interesting introspective question a little bit. Since you were with Artifex long enough to see it kind of grow and then fall, or not fall, but go to rest, um, where do you see
hmm
PJKT being with a group that was like that, and how it went? Where do you see PJKT growing with that kind of knowledge and experience you have?
Um, let's say it like that. Before they became PJKT, they were running into a position that was very close to the notion of the ending of Artifacts, where it was like some people wanted to do something, the other peoples wanted to do other things, and some people stressed so much out about the events because they wanted to do everything right, whereas some people were just not doing anything. So those people that wanted to do something were running into the direction of burning themselves out.
Mm.
So with the split that happened and the creation of PJKT, that whole notion, they basically jumped the step of that because everybody that wanted to work for something bigger and wanted to make things right, they all worked together, and therefore each and everyone had it way easier because everybody wanted to help each other reaching that goal. So as long as this motion stays, and obviously like after a big event, everybody needs like a break and needs to get to their own life back again, touch some grass and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you have those, the biggest plus that PJKT has, at least at the moment, still we're reaching the point where we're getting bigger and bigger, and that can be a problem, not necessarily has to be a problem, is everybody knows everyone and everybody is somehow befriended with everyone. And because everybody is somehow befriended with everyone, everybody just wants the best for each other. So that's really helpful. Whereas when you grow too big, you need to find like meta groups inside that group that becomes your circle that you care about. And then those circles still work on their own, but they all work together for the same thing, which still has the bound between those groups, but those groups really need to stick together. And whenever there's a new person in there, they need to learn, get to know each other. Which is why we do have like team meetings and hangouts and whatever not. So they're really doing a good job so far, and I hope we're developing even better into that direction. But I honestly don't see how we're not gonna be a thing anytime soon at all. If anything, even I think we have a good line towards something that can maybe even sustain out of VRChat at some point. Whereas I'm not saying that we ever gonna leave VRChat. I think like that's the main focus for us, to be in VRChat and creating something really cool in the virtual world.
Okay. So through all the experiences with artifex, pjkt, and everything you've experienced at the events, has any of those experiences influenced you in what you do with music? Has any of it inspired you, or has anyone you've met helped guide you with what you do as a hobby?
Well, obviously, I got to understand how like hosting works and everything. I already developed certain soft skills before I came into VRChat. I already had certain like project management experiences and event management experiences through like friend groups and stuff like that, and also through me studying. I learned quite of some of that, but due to working with artifacts and due to working with all the other groups together, that soft skill like got boosted like quite a lot. Like basically everything that I do and know now somewhat was heavily influenced by what was going on in here.
Oh wow! So there's
Like, sorry.
No, you continue.
I got an influence by another staff member in Artifacts, for example, that really liked how I sounded already, and he was like, "Hey, you're doing good already, but if you focus on that, you can make your reach even bigger." And that's when I started to just, for a whole year, I dedicated my time towards songs that went higher. I'm a natural baritone, but my reach is going quite high as well. So because of him being there and asking me to learn songs that were out of my reach at that time, now I have a way bigger reach. That was very influential. And after that year, I focused on songs that are on the lower register a little bit more. And I combined songs where you had like, for example, the song "Shallow." There's like the dude's voice in there, and then there's the girl's voice in there. And when you do both of those voices, that's helping you in the variation and even coming back and forth. So that helped me a lot. Whereas doing shows, for example, that helped me a lot on project management skills. Doing drawings for friends in here, like small commissions and stuff like that, helped me developing a little bit more in my drawing skills. All of that are really cool soft skills that you could use in the world outside as well. However, sadly, with drawings, at the moment, the development is a little bit concerning because of AI and everything. I'm not condemning AI. I feel like it's a real good tool as a concept to base of things and then go further with your skills. But sadly, like a lot of commissions nowadays, they were like, oh hell, I don't need to pay any money. I'm just gonna use this AI graphic, and that is already good enough for me. I don't want to pay anybody to make this even better. And that's a little bit sad for the whole drawing community, but we're gonna see how the development's going. There is one project that I really like about. It's called Nightshade. Like certain artists, like digital artists, they're using a program called Nightshade, and for the human eye, the whole art still looks the same. Whereas it includes like pixels in the art that your human brain can't comprehend. However, for like an AI or engine, it could mean that instead of what you see would be like a picture of a cute cat, what the AI would see would be a cow, for example, and therefore it literally, like nightshade is a poison, like a neuron poison. It literally poisons the AI, so it can't recreate what you've been doing and can't learn from you because it can't see what you've been doing. And
Wow.
I think that's a good thing.
That's incredible.
I honestly think that's a good thing.
Mm.
Wow, that's impressive. So
Mm.
what what kind of music do you normally play? Do you make your own stuff or do you do covers of things? May I ask?
I mostly do cover songs. I do have a looper and I jam around with my looper every now and then, but when it comes to shows and everything, I do mostly covers. And I mean, it's a big variety. I was born in the 90s, so that's heavily influencing my choice of music, obviously. But I do try to learn new songs every now and then, because after a while I'm just getting fed up with playing the same songs on and on. So I need to get to know new things. And there's so much out there. So I'm not restricting myself to any music style when it comes to listening to music. However, when I play music, it's most of the time rock, pop, maybe folk punk sometimes, and stuff like that.
Okay. Since you do a lot of covers, are there any songs that you've played or that you listen to that have more meaning to you as a person?
There's at least one song that I would think of right away. Well, it's a little sad of a topic. My best friend back then, when I was 18 years old, he was 1 year older than me. And the whole story of him was like, he was a little bit more energetic and chaotic than I was, and I was a little bit more shy and very quiet as a kid because of the circumstances of my biological father and everything. Don't want to go too much into detail.
course.
However, the chaos of that friend of mine influenced me to be a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more open, and a little bit more energetic and everything. Whereas I had the opposite effect on him, where he was maybe sometimes too chaotic. I calmed him down. And we basically had like that synergy going on. We were really good friends before school, even. And because he was 1 year older, he ended up in the first class, whereas I was still in kindergarten. And so when he would have come to the second grade, I would have come to the first grade, but he had on the way to school, came into a car accident, and for a whole year he had to learn to speak again, had to learn to ride, and had to learn to walk and everything. So when I came into first grade, he was literally sitting next to me because he had to redo that year. So he somehow had always something going on. But when he was 19 years old, sadly, he died in a car accident, which nobody knows why that happened and how that happened. They investigated in that and never came to why it happened and how it happened. But losing that friend obviously crashed me quite a lot, even though I moved away when I was 11 years old. But he was still like, I went there every summer and spent the summertime with him. That's how our friendship was connected still. And I was really crushed about him being lost. And it took me quite a while to get into the mindset of, I'm so happy about the influence and the time that I had with him, which is so much more meaningful than that he is not around no more. So I'm more happy about the notion of that I knew him and had my time, then well, he's no around no more. And there's that one song, I think it's by 3 Days Grace. Could I think it is. It's called 6 Years. I can perform it later for you if you want to. But every time when I sing that song, I dedicate it to him because it's literally like how I felt about the whole situation, that he was fucking awesome, and I raised my glass on his life, and it took quite some time for me to get over that he is no longer around. And well, there's some other songs that influenced me and some other songs that helped me through some emotional struggles with ex-partners and stuff like that. I think every musician has certain songs that help them through situations and that are dear for them that way. I only so far ever wrote one song's lyrics on the beat and rhythm of the song from Eminem and Dido, Stan.
Mm.
So on that rhythm and beat, I created my own lyrics basically, and I wrote that song for a friend on the notion of they have had a helping syndrome, and I had too, and they were abused by the people that were hanging out with them on VRChat. And you see that quite a lot, honestly, that there's so many people that are depressed in VRChat that go to somebody to talk about their problems. And the minute that they feel better, they never go to that person no more. But as soon as they feel bad, they go to the person again to get advice or whatever. And instead of listening to the advice, they go to the next problem and create the next problem and whatever. And I wrote that song for her back then, but by now it really helped me quite a lot about those situations as well. And I don't have that helping syndrome no more because I got to the point where I nearly broke about that. And from that point on, I was like, I have to put myself first. Nobody should have the power to ruin my life just because I want to help them. And also, I cannot help anybody if I'm not good off. Why should they listen to my advice if I'm really in a bad position? That's basically what's going on in my mind. And that's how it got one time worse, and that's when I put out the message to everyone. It's like, hey, I really care about you guys, and I'm here if you need me. But if you're a person that only makes use of me when they need me and never is around otherwise, like to spend some quality time or having just fun moments as well, then fuck off. I don't need you in my life. I really don't.
It's good to take care of yourself.
And
first.
after that, everything got way better. Yeah.
There's a saying I
After
use
that, everything
sometimes.
got better.
Before you start pouring into someone else's glass, you need to still have something in yours first before you start pouring. Otherwise, you're going into deficit.
Yeah. It's the same with giving out your heart to somebody. As much as it's beautiful and everything, you should always stay yourself. Don't bend too much for that other person, because I wish everybody's relationship would work out, but if it doesn't work out and you gave your whole self to that other person, it takes way more time to gather all the puzzle pieces and recreate yourself than if you've been true to yourself and loved the other person. Because, I mean, there was a reason why that person fell in love with you to begin with. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't develop with the other person. All I'm saying is don't lose yourself ever.
That's some pretty good advice. So now that we've gone through where you started, the groups you've worked with in the past, and who you're doing now, what are some things either you or things you're working on you're looking to in the future? What do you strive to do? What is it you want to do?
Well, at the moment, I'm quite happy, to be honest. If it was about me, nothing really has to change much. Maybe my health situation could get a little bit better again. Other than that, if everything works out with pjkt and we're developing in the direction that we're going at the moment, I would love to have that developing into a direction where basically the people that work for pjkt can maybe at some point live off that. I know that's quite a far away still, but I would love that to develop. And well, yeah, there's certain private things that I hope that's going to develop. For example, I've been diagnosed with an uncurable disease in 2021, and that basically shot me off my whole life. I'm no longer allowed to work, basically, and I have an insurance that I'm living off. So at the moment that I'm not getting paid from pjkt is actually beneficial for me because I'm learning quite a lot of soft skills by doing what I'm doing. And like I do that because I want to do that. So it's positive stress. If I was working for a company in the same way, that would be a totally different stress, which also would have an impact on my disease again. And that would not work out, at least at the moment. And well, I hope that at some point, maybe I'm losing it again, but there's no history tracks of why it's happening, nor there's any reproducible results of losing it again. There's cases where they lost it again, but nobody knows really much how and why. It's not reproducible.
Well,
as long as this is under control, as long as it's under control, the with the medication that I'm taking, everything is good, and I hope it's not getting worse, because worse would be really worse. Other than that, my emotional life is doing really well. I'm happy with the friends that I made over the years. The one benefit that I have with my mindset is whenever somebody came into my life that stayed there for a good while in VRChat, I try to pull them into my real life as well. I went on a visit a lot to England already, where I got to know quite a lot of friends. I had some friends coming from Denmark and Sweden to visit me. I went to Canada to see some friends already. Next year, I hopefully get to America, where I'm also going to hang out with my girlfriend, obviously. And
obviously.
So the development of all of that, I'm really happy about how things work out at the moment, and I love that I can be myself and don't have to slave my life away for something that needs to be done, that I don't stand behind it.
Fair.
So I'm kind of lucky with sorry with how bad that disease, however bad this disease is, it did put me into a position where I can focus on my own life without being in need of living my life for somebody else.
That's a very positive mindset to have with the cards you're dealt. I'm glad you're able to find a lot of positive impact to it all. With a lot of people, I've noticed it's very easy to fall into the negative mindset when something happens to you of, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, what do I do? Because it's easier to feel bad than it is to feel good. It takes more muscles to frown or to smile than it does to frown. So a lot of people just not see this. So the fact they're seeing that kind of positive
I know that saying too.
Great.
Yeah. No, you're right. I thankfully was born into a family where at least the mother was is a very decent person. So like the positivity of life and the love that she has for life really much had an impact on my life as well. So I'm always trying to find the positives. Obviously, it's not always easy. All of you have to understand, like, the most positive people and the most kind people most of the times are people that went through a lot of shit in their life, and because they don't want anybody to have the same feelings or any impact of that on them, they are most of the time very kind to everybody else. What's going on in themselves about themselves is a totally different story, to be honest.
I can very much understand and agree with that perspective.
Right.
Mm.
I wish it was easier. My girlfriend already tells me to stop talking bad about her boyfriend, so I'm like, okay, stop.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I think Raptor would not forgive me if I didn't ask. In your time in VR
Yes.
chat, what
I'm
is
not
the
a furry.
weirdest thing? Well, you know the
I
first
like
step
nana
to
cheese. I
acceptance.
like the anime.
You know the first step to acceptance is denial. So now that you deny it, you're now one step closer to accepting.
Right. So I can explain that though. So as much as I'm not a furry, I can appreciate the aesthetics. However, the aesthetics that I like about furries are the human aesthetics.
Ah.
Like
You're just feeding him more,
so
though.
I'm more like I think he looks cool and everything, but my brain would never go into mode like, oh, that's fucking sexy. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's not on me. I mean, sure, there's female models and stuff, and they look really nice sometimes, not all the times, sometimes, but all I like about those avatars is most of the times the human attributes.
Okay. So, what is the weirdest thing you've seen in VR chat then? Is the original question I was going to ask. What is the weirdest thing you've seen here?
I have to find an answer that is not making everything really, really dark about VR chat. Okay. The weirdest thing.
There's a lot.
Let's make it light. One of the weirdest things to me is the Nutter avatar.
The nutter. Oh, yeah. The one that regurgitates
It looks
butter.
like a huge, big butter block. And instead of butter, it's written Nutter all over it. And if you in that avatar, it's a desktop avatar. You can go towards people and then spray certain white substance all over everybody. And if you have like animations on and everything, that sticks to them for like, I don't know, 5 seconds or stuff like that. So it's really weird if you think about it.
Yeah.
I remember
It's
seeing
funny.
that avatar.
In the
first
terms
time.
of VR chat funny, but if you would describe something like that to somebody that hasn't been in VR chat, that's so fucking abstruse. It's ridiculous.
Fair enough. I think within my first couple of months, I remember seeing that avatar, and I was quite perplexed by it when I first. I was like, What am I looking at? Why is there 12 of them?"
It's getting worse if there's more of them, and they're doing it to somebody with phantom sense.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's one of the weirdest things, I guess, but it's also funny as fuck.
Yeah, I learned the hard way when I didn't know what that thing was.
Oh really?
One of my
What happened?
friends said,
I'm
"Hey,
bad
take a
you
look
did.
at this." Oh, one of my friends said, "Hey, come have a look at this." I had no idea what I was in for. Next thing you know, it, yeah.
It's very telling that you're still here, though.
It's true.
Let's be honest, like the experience in this game as a man is absolutely different from a girl. And there's a lot of girls that rather run around in man avatars because that's the way that they can be left in peace for a little bit. Because there's so many indecency happening in here, sadly. But outside of that area, there's so much more fun and so much good things that can happen in here too. Sadly, that's mostly restricted to private worlds or like to group worlds where you kind of trust the people already. So I guess getting into this game, you gotta be patient and try it multiple times before saying like, "Oh, holy shit, what's going on in here?" No, I don't like this. Because maybe I think the easiest approach is to get to know of VR chat through streams nowadays. If you literally just stumble upon VRChat without knowing what's going on in here, that's probably a no-go.
Yeah, I'd say the deeper levels of VR chat, like pjkt, and the things that you do is what makes this game amazing. And that is where I feel like
Well,
we
thank
can be
you.
a lot more safer in those kind of things. So I'd say keep up what you're doing.
Hey, I agree on that very sentence. I also think like really cool. Oh, holy shit! I didn't know my face was doing that while I'm doing that. Okay.
You're trying to look at both of us at the same time, you see?
Yeah. No, I was like, as much as you can party in here in VRChat, you can also be very cozy like this, and it's like a very interesting environment where you can like just do very many different things, and I like that about it. So you can basically be cozy or go on party mode and even fucking set the world on fire. I don't know.
I have a question for you as well. With all of your experience at
Right.
VRChat, what are some core memories from you, and what drives you to keep on doing what you're doing with pjkt and all the artifacts, and even today?
Um, core memories are mostly related to the friends and the fun that I had with them. Sure, there's some core memories about like how things started or how like certain events went on, but the most fond memories are the ones that about the bonds that I created with the friends that I have, and that I'm lucky that I'm one of those people where my friends join on me every now and then as well, so I don't have to go wander around and meet everybody and feel guilty about the ones that I don't meet no more. I developed the mindset that um, I can be only around so many people, and if you miss me, you're always welcome to come to me. And if I miss you, I'm hopefully welcome to see you as well. However, if you're in orange mode 24/7, I will not bother asking of a join. I will not. If you make the decision of not being available for everybody and make it easy for you to be approached, then that's on you. And we're gonna see on events or we're gonna see on things like that. But yeah, most fond memories. I don't know. I think it's like the very personal moments with my friends where we can speak about like things that matter for them and for me. Sure, it's fun to talk about things that don't matter at all and having a good time on VR chat, but it's also good to have the same friends where you can do shit with, having them for a meaningful conversation.
Okay. And what drives you? What keeps you going through pjkt and
Oh
with
yeah.
everything going on?
I guess the feeling of being part of something that is fun, but also has the possibility of getting bigger and actually having more impact on other people's life. I always like the part of having impact on not like not I'm not just somebody that wants to receive. I thrive from giving joy to my friends and seeing that they have fun. So whenever I create shows, I love that people enjoy these shows, and that's what's keeping me driving. And when I work with pjkt, I see that's not only me. I see other people being the same, and they want to do everything in their power to create something that people can just enjoy. And if something is going wrong at some point, the motion of fixing that right away is just very big. And I guess also a very selfish thought about that would be the feeling of being needed. Even, I mean, sure, I can be replaced by basically everybody that can draw at least as good. And there's quite a lot of people that are way better than me. But like the feeling of being part of something and feeling needed and wanted, I think being wanted is more the feeling that I thrive of. Especially in a world where I'm in real life, I'm not allowed to work. I'm really happy that I can put my skills to a test on this one.
Hmm. Well, thank you for doing what you do. It's quite apparent with PGK Fest and the events you ran and the art you do. It shows the love you put into it. So please keep going, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, two final questions I'm going to ask before we start wrapping things up. You kind of answered at the beginning, but I'll rephrase it a little bit to get a different answer. The name you use, why do you choose to use that as your screen name in VRChat?
It was my gamer name for the longest time. I started using it in World of Warcraft back then, and it was always my favorite names of those that I used. So it became my gamer tag in basically all platforms. So it was a no-brainer to use it in VRChat as well, I guess.
And the avatar you're in, why do you use it, and what keeps you using it?
That's a whole development thing. I still have my very first avatar in here, and I like that avatar, and saw over the years near to no one using it. And I started to look into Unity, and with the help of friends, I developed certain things about that avatar, gave him these horns, and gave him the color scheme that I'm using most of the time, which is around like this teal blue and some purple, some purple and pink, and like that always went with my avatars. And at some point, a friend gave me a Nanachi after I watched Made in Abyss, the first season, and I really liked Made in Abyss. I really liked the Nanachi and the whole concept of the world and everything, and thought it was cute. So I was like, "Hey, I kind of want that." And then they were like, "Hey, here you got it." And then I developed it over the years, gave it different hair, developed the color scheme a little bit, started to put on friends as tattoos on me as well. Like every Nanachi of me had like an extensive amount of friends on me, basically. And I guess it's not the reason why I'm using it, but over the years I noticed whenever I'm in this avatar and I'm a little bit smaller, like in real life, I'm 6.1. So I'm not that small, but I'm also not like amazingly huge or anything. But like I'm over average, I guess, with 6.1. And whenever I'm in this avatar, most of the time I'm smaller than the rest. So people, instead of looking up and having to talk to a person that they have to look up to, they get way less on their defensive level. When you're running around in a small avatar, people are way more open from the very start to you because, I don't know, maybe the subconsciousness tells them that they are not threatened at all or something. So the whole motion of, hey, this avatar is really cool and cute helps me connecting with new people way faster than any e-boy would do. And besides, e-boys really most of the time don't look that great.
Okay.
And I'm not a stripper on VRChat, so I wouldn't make use of an e-boy anyways. Not everybody has to.
I'd like to impart a little bit of VRChat lore to you, actually, based on the avatar. And this is something I've heard from a few different people, so it may be true. If not, please tell me. But I think it's the director creator of Made in Abyss came into VRChat supposedly, allegedly, saw the Nanachi avatars and thought they were also amazing. I think he said they're canon. So the avatar you're in is canon to Made in Abyss, supposedly.
Right. I guess not that very avatar of a Nanachi, but I guess the Nanachi in general, I guess so.
Yeah, based on how
I'm just happy that he didn't came in. Right. I'm just happy that he didn't came to VRChat in the time where Nanachis were basically the most sexual evil on VRChat.
Yes.
There was like a whole, like basically that was the thing about Nanachis, and that's why I always had to defend myself and was like, hey, I'm not a furry. I like Nanachis because they are a fucking cool character, but I'm not part of the Nanachi group. I separate myself from that.
Yeah, I feel you there. When I initially started using free avatars, it wasn't a Nanachi avatar, and that's when I started in that era. And I definitely understand and feel
Right.
you.
Like in artifex, there were basically 3 people that used Nanachis. I was one of them, and basically I got known as this Nanachis way more than with my other avatar.
Mm.
And in the music groups, people still know the name Cup of Noodles. He's a really good musician. Sadly, he like his real life came in between, and he's not online that often no more. But whenever he's online, we're basically the original Nanachis of Artifacts, basically with the Nanachi brothers. So yeah, there's not a lot of people that run around in Nanachi avatars, but there's still some, and it's always fun to stumble upon somebody and then find out who they are and how they are. It's kind of it's a nice connecting part.
Well, with that said, thank you very much, Twostep, for coming on and letting us get to know you, hear all your history from Artifacts and pjkt. Thank you for letting us get to know you.
Well, thanks for having me. It was really fun. Thanks for the questions. And I think there's another question.
I do have one question.
Of course.
Sorry. Where can people find you if they're interested in reaching out to you? And where can they find the things that you like to do and your passions? What is the best way to find your stuff?
Well, I guess the best way to find me would be discord.gg/pjkt. Just join the community of pjkt. You can find me in there quite easily. In VRChat still online, but I normally don't take friend requests out of the blue. I normally leave them aside until I connect with that person a little bit. And when I connected with that person and my brain keeps up with the name and the person behind it, then I put them on my friend list because, I mean, I said it earlier, I had up to 2,000 people at some point. You just don't know who those people are no more, especially when they change their names. You could find me on events. I do have a Twitch, which is Onetwostep, but instead of the O, it's a 0 at the beginning because whoever it was, and they are never online, they are not active at all. They took my name before me, and I, for flip's sake, can't tell Twitch they are inactive for more than 3 years already. Turn them down, give me the name already. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. But yeah, you can find me like that. Yeah, you can find me like that. I'm also on YouTube. You can find me under Onetwostep there as well. It's quite easy. If you find the profiles there, it's the one with the Nanachi on the profile picture. So I have some songs there, and you can also find me on SoundCloud, which I really have to upload new songs to again.
Well, all of those things will be in the Hoobly What's It description thingamabobble right down that. If you kind of go down to the, you see the video right now, go down, you see description, click that. There's a section called guest links. Everything will be in there for you, ready to click and go. And again, Onetwostep, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute blast getting to meet you. Onetwostep.
He didn't listen at all.
No!
I hate you.
I was listening, I promise.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
right. Nice trigger, dude.
You're welcome. It's what I'm good at, making people mad.
There's a picture that you should include in here now because we had that picture together where we both look mad at each other.
Yes, definitely. Well, with that said, I'll give the audience a question. And would you like me to close it? Or would you like me to put you on the spot and make you Raptor?
I can try and be Raptor. Let's do it.
Okay. With that said, I would like to pose you, the audience, your own question. What is a moment in your life that has meant the most to you? Let us know in the down the comment section. We'd love to read all about it. And Crispy, you know the thing.
Well, people, it seems like that some of the most precious and meaningful memories are those that we make with our communities and our friends. Don't forget to look after each other and let's lift each other up together. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Why not looping when you can loop? Makes sense. Tears run down, I'm wondering why I got out of my bed at all. The morning wake up cold strikes hard though. Well, I can't see at all. And even if I could, it'll all be grey. But there's your picture on my wall, and that reminds me that it's not so bad. The world is not so bad. Sometimes everything around you feels just wrong, even though you try your very best for so long. Some people are only there if they can use you to get that sunshine from your smile that you're fake too. Some will call you friend, but they will leave you when they find what you're not, cause they don't know you. Some people always pull your trigger, but you keep hiding behind your smile and get sicker. My tears run down, I'm wondering why I got out of my bed at all. The morning wake up cold strikes hard though. Well, I can't see at all. And even if I could, it will all be grey. But there's your picture on my wall that reminds me it is not so bad. The world is not so bad. There are assholes everywhere, wanna see the world burning. They keep abusing you, for them there's no learning. You wanna be a friend of them, you be the mother of God. But look who's there when they find, and you are not. Only a few of us put ourselves in pain for the others to get better while we go insane. Tears run down, I'm wondering why I got out of my bed at all. The morning wake up cold strikes hard though. I can't see at all. And even if I could, it will all be grey. But there's your picture on my wall, and that reminds me that it's not so bad. The world is not so bad. That's a moment for you, just to be thinking a lot. Does it worth all the pain? Sometimes clearly not. Do they really even need you? Are they worth the shot? When you help them, do they hurt you? Help me, or what? You're an angel, you're one of a kind. Are they thinking when they hurt you? Are they blind after all the emotions you push yourself through? You now have someone that cares for you too. It actually matters what you do. Do you really wonder what and who are you? Do you really think that you're alone? No one is there for you. I'm your guardian angel that cares and loves you too. My tears run down, I'm wondering why I got out of my bed at all. The morning wake up cold strikes hard though. Well, I can't see at all. And even if I could, it will all be grey. But there's your picture on my wall, and that reminds me that it's not so bad. The world is not so bad.